Okay, hello everyone. Um, I'm here to present the last or the final term paper, the presentation of my final term paper of my model, and my name is Namira Zahara Bidin. The contents of my presentation are as follow. So, the introduction. To give a brief introduction about this, as earlier, a global human-made virus hit the world in 2020. And this was a general issue in such a way that all continue to be affected. This resulted in two new normal, which brought a variety of changes, of which among them was putting on face masks. So as an IT student, or as we technologists who change the world with technology, had to come up with our face mask detection or an idea of it, so that we can make it easier for the people to go by the rules to stop the high spread of the deadly diseases, not only coronavirus, but also other diseases that are airborne, like Ebola, and all diseases that need putting on face masks, so that the rule can be enforced in public places and where people are non socially distanced. Background, to give a brief talk about the background. The human-made virus COVID-19 hit the world in 2019, and it took over nations over a year to conquer it. And this came with a lot of death rates and economic fall in the people's property and all the businesses. And this did not leave everyone well. Majority of the people did not prefer it that way, but we had to go by it because it could take a lot of lives. And in this, due to this, the idea of coming up with a model had to come into our minds, or in my mind, so that I can come up with a face mask detection model, since majority of the people were not following the rules when they were in public places or in places whereby they were not socially distanced. So to enforce the rules, since majority of the people in public places could employ the security guards to enforce the rules, which was not, it was a manual work, but it was not effective. So for effectiveness, I had to come up with a model that could sense those who are not wearing masks and those who are wearing masks, and it could easily allocate them. And having allocated them, silent all the alert can be sounded in the control room, and the people can be taken from the public, so that they can put on their masks to follow the guidelines to stop the high spread of the disease. But it is not only catering for COVID-19, but also other killer diseases that don't need distance, like don't need people being in short distances. So those people without masks, so that masks, this model can also be used for those diseases. So if the diseases are in place, they can be used for the people to access the public places without any hindrance. The literature review, this looked at the supervised learning techniques and the unsupervised learning techniques used in my model, but then I didn't have the unsupervised learning techniques since my model was working on label data. And since it was working on label data, I only had supervised learning techniques, and these were neural networks and classification. For the neural networks in particular were convolutional neural networks, and their benefits were the ability to develop internal representation of the two-dimensional image, and they were also good at images. When dealing with images, we usually use the CNNs since they are good at annotating. Remember, we have a folder for annotations. So these CNNs help us in shaping the images. And then for the classification, I looked at it helped me in splitting of my data into 3 classes or levels, which included with mask, without mask, and with improper mask. The research gaps in the literature. The research gaps, those are the problems faced while using the other supervised learning techniques. And the major research gap was the need of a lot of data while using the CNNs. The CNNs need a lot of data. And how did I come up with a solution to that? That is the summary of the term paper contributions. I had to implement a solution to the challenge of the CNNs, which needed vast data by increasing on the number of images in my dataset, and the difficulty of classifying images with different positions was solved by using of the classifiers, since it is the problem to classification, so it was also contributed to. So the difficulty of classifying images with different positions was solved by using labels and classifiers to enable proper differentiation of my data. Methodology and dataset description. For the methodology, I would say I traversed through a lot of browsers to come up with solutions. So I made a lot of research through the different browsers. And for the dataset description, my dataset had a good number of images that were divided into three, and they were all different. The three classes were totally different. The ones with masks, those are fully worn masks. The one without, and the one with weird, those ones that are not proper in an improper way. And that is a brief description of my dataset. The data preparation and exploratory data analysis. This involved data preparation, involved cleaning up of my data, organizing the images in two levels, without mask and with weird mask, and also remove the excessive images for quick training. And also the null values were also erased as well. And the shape of the data had to take up the heat map, the coloration matrix, and the outlier plots. And in particular, I had the feature independence plots. So AI selection and optimization, AI accountability, result and discussion, and conclusion and future works. The AI model selection and optimization, this involved splitting of data, and accountability involved showing of how the project was accountable. And this was majorly through looking out of the accuracy of my data so that I can see whether the model is accountable. And the conclusion and feature works, this was the external advice given to me by other fellows who are above or who know better, who saw some things that need to be adjusted. That is the conclusion and the feature works. And the links to my dataset and the final code are there, and the references are there. So thank you. And it's been a nice journey. And this is the final. We come to the final, having implemented the code, and having implemented the code, we only left with the conclusion and the future works. See you. Bye-bye.